What's good, DMV and across the nation? Welcome to the Commissioner's Corner of the DMV Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Don Adubai, and on today's show, we'll begin our NFC East Divisional preview for the NFL and fantasy football. Thank you all for joining the show. Please check out the Substack and YouTube page at DMV Commish, then hit that subscribe button. Also, check out our DMV hat merchandise at No Bot Shop LLC on McCurry.com for customized hat designs. And now on the show, we welcome our resident Giants fan, member of the Wahoo Legacy League, and friend of the show, Dr. Wes Campbell. What's good, my brother?
Doing well, Don. How are you?
Good. So, yeah, we go way back at the University of Virginia, and I think you're the guy that's kind of called me out on some of my sports takes, and I think my worst sports takes I can think of is back around maybe the 2013-2014 NBA season, back when the Golden State Warriors were at the beginning of their dynasty, and we had this back and forth conversation about the value of Draymond Green, and I remember very vividly comparing him to, I think, Paul Millsap and the Morris twins. And I gotta say, I'll eat my words on that. So just walk me through that conversation, because it definitely wasn't my best take.
I just remember Draymond racking up championships, defensive player of the years, all-stars, and you still weren't coming off the take that
it was because Draymond, he was never a great shooter in college. He was never a great scorer. He could play defense, he could rebound, and I still have some belief that Steph Curry and Clay made a lot of that team. And then you add in KD, that's 2 championships, easy championships from just KD and Steph. I mean, Draymond did his thing, but even in the 2016-2017 season, he gets suspended for kicking LeBron in the groin, and they go from a 3-1 series lead to a historic collapse of a 73-win team. I do believe Draymond, he's a heck of a leader, great defensive player, brings the fire to the team, the edge to the team, but I mean, that was the whole basis of my argument, back in those years, is that I just felt like he was a pretty limited offensive player. And I think you're starting to see that right now, with Steph Curry getting older, and and the Warriors trying to find that new transition as they need to, become more competitive in the West.
I mean, I never said he was a good offensive player, even though he did get buckets in college. That wasn't my argument.
And Draymond averaged like 13 a game in college.
He was player of the year in the Big Ten or something like that.
For his defensive efforts. I mean, I think honestly, I feel like I just completely underestimated how good of a leader and how good of a defensive player he is, but he's so volatile. That's the only thing. That's my thing about him.
You also just invalidated that whole argument when you said when he got suspended, it caused the team to lose a 3-1 lead. That shows how impactful he is.
Yeah, impactful, but also how damaging of actions that he had. I mean, his actions getting suspended.
How many finals runs has Paul Millsap impacted, positively or negatively? I mean Markieff Morris. That's the one who you said could have made the Warriors better. Or was it Marcus? I think you said it was Marcus. It was Marcus. Yeah, Marcus was on the Warriors. Remember. It was 10 straight championships. That's what you said.
Oh boy. Oh man, we could go on and on for this. Maybe we'll save it for the live stream, but yeah, I'm gonna sit on that one. I mean, I'll admit that Draymond is a future Hall of Famer. I mean, his impact is completely understated. I mean, in some ways, he was kind of like the Rodman of the of that second Bulls championship run. And
exactly.
And I think, I think his leadership is important because Steph is one of those guys that he's an assassin, but he's kind of more on the quiet side. And sometimes you got to have that emotional leader to fire everybody up. And Draymond's that dude. So I'll give you that one. I'll definitely give you that one. That's why I'm having you on the show. I appreciate your takes. And I also want to get your perspective as a New York Giants fan here on this podcast that focuses on the NFC East and the Washington Commanders. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and start things out here. And so the audience, they're really interested in how you became a Giants fan. Was it the LT earrings way back in the day, or was it the UVA alumni that we had that ended up playing for the Giants, like Clint Sentum, Chris Canty, Ahmad Bradshaw, at least through the summer program, Tiki? I mean, there's so many guys that came out of UVA to play for the Giants. What led you to, become a Giants fan?
I mean, I definitely started becoming a Giants fan around the LT Phil Simms era, Rodney Hampton running all over everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. My first favorite Giant though was Michael Strahan. That was my guy.
Oh yeah.
Because he used to talk smack, and he was, he just had an attitude about him. That was my first favorite Giants player. I got his shirt, his jersey, and stuff like that. But that was my guy. But fun fact, I grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia. That's where LT is from.
Oh yeah, 757.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, does he have like a high school named after him, or does he come back to do any charity or community events as part of being a Williamsburg, native?
No, he doesn't have things named after him like that. But he's been back to Williamsburg a few times for a few events, but doesn't come back super often. Not that I know of.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, obviously Lawrence Taylor was a Virginia talent, and we had a lot of guys that came out of UVA to play for the Giants. And now we're just going to talk about this current iteration of the New York Giants and their offseason. And they let go of Brian Daboll and they hired John Harbaugh, which I felt like was a splash hire within the league. I think he's obviously a championship pedigree coach, and you guys made some major moves in the offseason. So which one was the most important for you from a NFL perspective and from a fantasy perspective?
I mean, John Harbaugh, like you said, splash hire. He's coached for 18 seasons. He's been to the playoffs, 12 of them. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's the type of coach where his assistants go on to become great head coaches. I mean, what's his name? Michael McDonald on the Seahawks.
Yep.
He's a John Harbaugh, protege. His replacement in Baltimore right now, a Harbaugh protege.
Yeah,
mentor. Yeah. So he's just great. I'm excited to have him. That's honestly going to turn our team around the most, because if you look at the Giants, we had a bad record last year, but 7 of our losses were 1 score or less, and that's coaching. They say that 14 points or less, coaching and scheme. 14 points or more point differential in a loss, that's the players in effort and IQ. And if we had 7 losses by less than a point, that our coaching and our preparation was not up to par. So we get the best head coach available at the time. And John Harbaugh, I don't know if he's blown 7 leads in the last decade. We blew 7 last year. So
yeah.
That's a huge impact on our win total. And then for fantasy, quiet as it's kept, Isaiah Likely is going to be a major factor on the Giants this year. Yes, sir. He was behind Mark Andrews all these years and still showed out. But we don't have a Mark Andrews on this team, so he's going to be the second option behind Malik Nabers, and he has a underrated chance of being a top 10 tight end this year.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of buzz about Likely. I think he's super impressive as a tight end. I do wonder, I mean, what this just as a side question, what does that do for Theo Johnson? I mean, he was pretty talented, big, fast guy to Penn State. I mean, I know he had some inconsistency issues, but does that make Theo Johnson completely irrelevant from a fantasy standpoint?
I don't think it makes it irrelevant just because John Harbaugh ran that 12 personnel at one of the highest rates last year. Just like I said, he made Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely fantasy relevant last year. So I don't think Theo Johnson's completely irrelevant, but he's going to have to take a little bit of a step back. His hands aren't as consistent as Likely's are. He makes those big catches, and he actually led the Giants in touchdown receptions last year. So he makes those highlight catches, but the routine in and out, sometimes he loses his concentration. So Likely's there to kind of carry that load.
Understood. And then, I feel like Jaxson Dart, he's been polarizing off the field, but I mean, we won't get too far into that. This is a fantasy football show, but in terms of I guess him and Abdul Carter had something going on, but what about him as a fantasy quarterback? I feel like I like Dart in terms of his play style. I like him in terms of his dual threat ability, but I am so afraid in how he plays because he can get hurt out there. He's just so reckless out of the pocket scrambling that I just don't know if I can rely on him to play 13 to 15 games during the fantasy season. And is Harbaugh and Matt Nagy, are they going to do something to kind of limit that? And then I think also, too, the variance. Some games he'd have 25 points, and then there's some games where he gets like 8. So, tell me about, whether he's worth a mid-round pick or like a 10th to 12th round pick in fantasy to be a QB1 on your fantasy team.
Okay. QB1 will be tough, I'll admit. Just because of the unknown. However, if you take his stats and extrapolate them over a full season, he'd be in the top half of quarterbacks from last year. Don't forget the first 3 games of the year were Russell Wilson. So the Giants were behind the 8 ball, just having to play behind him. And then they had to change the offense to adapt it to Dart's skill set in his rookie year, with Malik Nabers being injured, his top weapon, Scadaboo getting hurt mid-year. So his top guys are down, and he's still putting up these yards. With his top guys there, he won't have to run so much. He won't have to be so reckless. And I think a lot of those injuries are overblown as well. He went to the tent a lot because he was running a lot, but was only diagnosed with 1 concussion last year. People think he had like 5-6 concussions. He only had 1.
one reported concussion.
Well, yeah, you could see. I mean, he would enter the game again and play the same way. It's not like he was, loopy. So
yeah, that's good to know, because I know the quarterback class for fantasy is super deep, and Dart's one of those guys that he could be if he gets to that level that he played in college, like 80% of that, he's a top 8, top 6 quarterback just with that dual threat ability. But I just worry about that consistency just as a young quarterback and staying healthy from the concussion standpoint. And the other thing I'm worried about is Matt Nagy's on the staff. And as a Chiefs fan, I've gotten to know Matt Nagy very well. And I just feel like he was just kind of there. I feel like it was more so Mahomes, obviously. Mahomes is Mahomes. He will carry the team regardless of the weapons around him, even to some degree as a coach. But I feel like Matt Nagy is just. I feel like there's more that needs to be there with him. And he also ran a lot of RPOs, which suits Jaxson Dart's strengths, but I think it also puts him at risk for the injuries that we were just talking about. So tell me about Matt Nagy in New York.
So I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't my first choice, but I think with the staff that Harbaugh put together, I think that he's gonna work out pretty well. Now, as a Chiefs fan, I know a lot of you guys were disappointed with Nagy a lot of the time, but you were number 2 in EPA last year. That's with a bad O-line. That's with your receivers in and out from suspensions and injuries and just underwhelming play. Like, and Kelsey declining, he still ran an efficient offense, one of the most efficient in the league. And also from some of the previous years, Mahomes was getting these pretty catastrophic injuries. And even though he ran the RPO, Mahomes has been pretty healthy once Nagy came back. So an efficient offense, keeping the quarterback upright, that's exactly what Jaxson Dart needs. So I feel like he will actually fit pretty well. Plus, Harbaugh brought in Greg Roman as another assistant coach who's a specialist at mastering the run game. So if we have that as the staple of our offense, the best run game coordinator in the league, plus the second most efficient passing offense coordinator from last year, I think that can, one, keep Jaxson Dart safe, make him more efficient, and actually make us a decent offense.
Yeah. See, I feel like just watching the Chiefs games last year, it's crazy that the EPA would say that the Chiefs are number 2. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to understand that stat a little bit more, and see how it, because it's like a team. It's a very much a team oriented stat, and I'm wondering. The Chiefs did leave a lot of points on the table last year, and I think it's just injuries played a big role. Mahomes did not have his best season. Our run game was awful. So it is true that Nagy could not be judged when our starting running back is Kareem Hunt, like a torn up Kareem Hunt and
busted
up Pacheco. Pacheco, he's a New York guy. He's from New Jersey. He did what he could, during his couple years, but he just hasn't been the same after the injury. And I hope he does well in Detroit, but his vision was not good in Kansas City last year. So we had no run game. So it's difficult to completely judge Nagy, but I just think from his time in Chicago and kind of the uneven results in Kansas City in terms of to me, it was kind of mediocre. I just hope Dart gets what he needs. But I do agree that Roman with the run game is going to help y'all a lot, especially with Scatterboo and some of the guys y'all have.
Even in Chicago, who were his quarterbacks? Justin Fields and
Trubisky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do with that?
No, but he had Mahomes last year, but he didn't have a run game. So I will give you that. Mm-hmm. He didn't have a run game. So,
obviously, Rasheed Rice for half the season.
And Rasheed Rice is going to be out half the season this year the way he's acting. I don't even want to talk about it.
So what was he supposed to do? Nabers is an upgrade.
Yeah,
Likely is an upgrade.
Yep, over.
The running game is an upgrade, so I'm kind of excited.
Yeah.
Dart is obviously a downgrade, but he's emerging.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this goes in my question with Nabers. I love Nabers. We've texted about Nabers even pre-draft. I like them more than Marvin Harrison just from the highlights I've seen. Just his twitch and the ability to attack the ball, his acceleration after the catch. But my issue is just the injuries, and I know he's dealing with the injury currently. And is he going to be a what if or a how high story? And so what I mean is, what if in terms of how the injuries have potentially affected his potential, or is it going to be a how high story in terms of this guy is really going to be the top receiver in the NFL? Because I know the injuries are really the only thing holding him back, in my opinion. So what's the vibe on him in the Giants camp?
So there was a lot of overcast about that injury just because people were wondering if he was going to be put on PUP and miss half the season. And they were saying his offseason workouts didn't look the best. But training camp started last week, and he came back running his routes, at 80, 90%. He was cutting, he was jumping, he was getting hit. He was going through all the drills. He only took one rest day. They said there was no setback with the injury, just a rest day because he was just coming back off injury. So I expect him to be there for the beginning of the season. I would say 80% chance for game one, but but I expect him to be there most of the season. And he's looking explosive. He's looking back to himself. So I don't think that this will be a chronic lingering thing. I'm real excited about Nabers, man.
Okay. So this kind of perfectly transitioned to, you just being as a practicing chiropractor, you obviously understand musculoskeletal injuries and rehab. Have you ever played doctor on assessing injuries and have you ever played doctor in assessing injuries, whether it's in the action during play and during their recovery? And then the follow-up is, have you thought about being like this influencer medical expert that goes online and tells people, what the extent of these injuries are for their players and whether they should start those players for their fantasy leagues? I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
So, yes, I have. I haven't been on the sideline assessing players, but I've seen them pre and post game and practices, and I can say for football players, training camp's been going for a week or two. Probably half the team is already playing hurt to some degree.
Yeah.
There's always something going on with football players. So, and that kind of links to the second part of your question. It's so hard to truly understand what a player is going through without being able to assess them, because they're all going through something. So whatever is reported, you can have a general idea. Like if it's a hamstring issue, okay, that those typically linger for a while, and the reoccurrence of injury is high versus something like maybe like a
Achilles
like
or something.
Something like that is season ending.
Yeah.
But there's certain injuries that are like bumps and bruises that a player can play through. It's more like a pain tolerance thing. Maybe like
I see.
torn rib cartilage or something like that. So you can know, like, based off of where the injury is, you can kind of categorize how chronic it'll be. But in terms of how limiting it is and the player's abilities, that varies a lot. It's kind of hard to say that third party and be super accurate.
Because I remember, again, I'm just speaking from a Chiefs lens. I think 3 seasons ago, Mahomes had a really high ankle sprain early in the playoffs against Jacksonville. And somehow he was able to play through it and get to the Super Bowl and play and win that game. So I guess for something like that, where it could be a tolerance thing, how do the trainers, like, what things are they looking for to assess whether the player can make it through or not?
So yeah, that's a great example. I think he even trucked somebody in that Super Bowl game.
Right.
It's like, but you hear about some ankle sprains, especially high ankle sprains, and people are out for 6 weeks. So it depends on the degree that they get injured. It depends on the position that they play. Mahomes might have to make, especially with a high ankle sprain, he might make 5 explosive plays a game, where a receiver with a high ankle sprain, they probably can't even get on the field. Or a linebacker, if he's an off-ball linebacker and changing directions, he might not be able to play. But if he's a pass rusher, he might be situational. Maybe he can just go forward on third downs. It's not as drastic. So it depends on the player. It depends on the degree of the injury. It depends on the position. Honestly, sometimes it depends on where they play in terms of weather or elevation. So there's so many different variables for all these injuries.
All right. So the next question here is, this is more about the wide receiver 2 position. So like the Washington Commanders, at least until they signed Stephon Diggs on Wednesday, the Giants are really lacking at that WR2 position or options on the roster. So who fills that role that will take on Wan'Dale Robinson's absence as he goes to the Tennessee Titans? And do you think that player can even touch 75% of the 172 points that Robinson had in PPR leagues that put him in the top 20? Let me know your thoughts on that.
So I think John Harbaugh brought in Isaiah Likely for that role.
Okay.
60% of his snaps last year were from the slot.
Wow, 60?
I'm sorry. 60% of his slots were not in line. So between outside and the slot.
That's
so
that's still pretty crazy. That for a tight end.
Yeah, for sure. He lined up more at receiver than tight end. So we were able to sign him at I think we signed him at like $12 million a year, and Wandale ended up getting like 20.
Yeah, he got a lot of money.
Yeah, so that plus he's more of an asset, so we can run out of those formations a little bit easier than he's a way better blocker than Wandale. So in terms of football, I think it'll help the team. In terms of fantasy, I don't think anybody's going to get those points because after Nabers went down, Wandale was our number one option as well. So Wandale's not even going to put up those same numbers this year because he'll be back to his slot number 2, number 3 option role.
Yeah, at Tennessee. And then I think their offensive system is still a little questionable. I mean, I guess Cam Ward, he's a dog. I think he's going to ball out, but I'm still wondering about whether Tennessee's offensive system is legit. But on the Giants side,
Tate, though.
Oh yeah, true. They do have Carnell Tate. Yeah. I mean, he is a very good receiving prospect that came into the league. But I mean, who's their offensive coach? Who's their coordinator? I don't even remember who it is. They hired Saleh. Yeah, I don't know who their coordinator is.
And they hired Dable from the Giants.
Dable.
So he knows exactly how to use Wandale and a big number 1 outside because he had Nabers and Wandale last year.
That's fair.
So he's just going to take that offense right over to Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I forgot about Dable going out to Tennessee. And then I think Malachi Fields out of UVA, he got drafted by the Giants. Is he going to be relevant at all in a dynasty format or in a best ball or a deeper league format?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I love Malachi because he's got that big frame, 6'4", big receiver, and we don't have any other receivers like that on the roster. So he's going to be a red zone target. He's going to be a chain mover. And New Yorkers, they see Plexico Burress part 2 when Malachi gets on the field. He's a good blocker, which is in alignment with the rest of the team. We're going to be our run first team, so that's going to get him some more playing time. And he's got real sticky hands. So Dart, if he gets in a pinch, he's got Nabers. And as Field starts to develop, he'll have some receivers with real good hands to bail him out.
Right on. And just to correct myself, Nabers went to UVA his first 4 years and then transferred to Notre Dame his last season. So Fields. Right. Fields. And so like if there's any Notre Dame fans that are somehow watching the podcast, no disrespect. So let's talk Giants defense for fantasy. They rank 22nd in fantasy. So it shows that they're kind of a streaming candidate on a bye week. But do you see that their defense can be in the top half in fantasy? And in your opinion, who's the best IDP player, individual fantasy or individual player on the defense that'll be most impactful for those types of leagues?
So I think that will definitely be a better defense this year. Shane Bowen was our defensive coordinator last year, and he was terrible. The only player that he knew how to highlight was Brian Burns, who had a great year, but he put every other player on our defense at a disadvantage. We had no shutdown corners, but we played man at one of the highest rates in the league last year. Yeah. So
disaster in that NFC East, especially.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing the Cowboys, got them 1-2 options. The Eagles, we actually beat the Eagles on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I do remember that game. I was happy about that.
Yeah, but I mean, with those options there, like going man at such a high rate is just setting us up for failure. So, we had to get him out of there. After he left, our rookie Carter started going crazy and became one of the highest pressure rate defensive ends in the whole league last year. So as he starts to develop, Abdul Carter's gonna be one of those defensive Player of the Year candidates for the next few years, alongside Brian Burns, and our new defensive coordinator plays zone defense at one of the higher rates in the league. So it'll put our corners in position to where they don't get cooked. It'll give our pass rush the opportunity to get there even more often, and so we'll definitely be an improved defense from last year.
Understood. Yeah, I've read a Substack that does a pretty nice scouting report on defensive lines. Like that's all he focuses on. And he had a lot of really good things to say about Brian Burns and just his technique, the power he has, his bend, being able to get around. And then for Abdul Carter, he had a lot of good things to say about him, but he thought he was more of a technician. And maybe the upside isn't as high as Burns, but like he's just so refined in his moves that he's going to be a guy that'll grow into a really, really good defensive end. But from the vibe I got, I wasn't sure if he was going to be that game record that Burns was described as. Just quick follow up on that. What do you think about that assessment?
I would love to see how it goes this year because I have real high hopes for Abdul Carter. If he calls him a technician, he's only played defensive end for 2 years. So his technique is still raw. If he sees his technique as being high end already for playing the position for 2 years, man, the sky's the limit. This guy is going to get better consistently for at least the next 3 to 4 years just off of refining his technique. Plus, physically, he's going to grow because he used to be a middle linebacker. So now he's putting on muscle in a healthy way to play that defensive end. He plays the run really well, considering the position change, and he's especially just the off-season workouts that I've seen him going through this off-season. He's definitely taken on the challenge of being more of that game record, not just a technician. Like the Substack you're talking about, if he was looking at Kayvon Thibodeau, I could understand that assessment. But Abdul Carter, he's going to be one of them dudes. You're going to see him on Sports Center. You're going to see him. Other teams are going to be game planning for him. They're going to be sliding protection his way. He's going to be one of them dudes.
Okay, hey, DMV, y'all better watch out because now that Laramie Tunsil's been out for that bicep injury, I mean that's a big hit for the Commanders in DC, and Commanders are going to be probably starting either Brandon Coleman or Andrew Wiley, who came from the Chiefs, and I thought he was mediocre at best. Abdul Carter and Burns might eat this year. So
we gonna eat. Meet at the quarterback.
so it's gonna be So hearing about Carter and Burns, I mean that could put a little temper the expectations for the Commanders and the offensive line, but that's just me reporting what I've seen with the news. And yeah, good to hear your perspective on the defensive line here. So let's talk about Cam Scatterboo. I mean, he's such a fun guy to watch, but where's his head at? I mean, I feel like the dude is just asking to get hurt with just the way he plays on it. I feel like him and Dart might as well just be a tag team the way they play together. So I just feel like he's a really good player for fantasy. He averaged 17.4 points per games in the games he was a starter last season. And then do you think his style is sustainable, or do you think he's going to be like the next Peyton Hillis where he has that 1-2 good seasons and then he's out of the league? I know that's a very lazy comparison, just comparing one white guy versus another big white guy playing running back, but yeah, give me your thoughts on Peyton Hillis. Or shoot, give me your thoughts on Cam Scatterboo.
So Cam is kind of crazy, and he and Dart definitely have that Beavis and Butthead kind of vibe.
Yeah,
but it works though, as you saw, like I mentioned, that Thursday night Eagles game, like they kind of led us to victory. It was two rookies that were really showing out. That was after Malik was already hurt. Nobody was giving them a chance, and they showed out. Cam, he's that wild man mentality makes it so that by the time you get to the third and fourth quarter and the defense is tired of tackling, he's still coming forward 100%. So we don't need him to be a 10-year all-star. I mean, that's cool. He was a fourth-round pick who is out, kicked his coverage. Like you said, he's a productive starter when in the game. He's unpredictable because he can run and he can catch, he can block, and he gets stronger as the game goes on. The injury he sustained was a fluke injury, but he's back to his wild and crazy ways. He's practicing in full. He's hitting. He's doing the backflips. He's back to 100%. So I just want him to go all out while he can. And if we have to upgrade eventually, we will. But for this upcoming seasons, these next few seasons, I don't have any worries.
Yeah, sometimes with football, especially these days, we get caught up in the numbers and caught up with, the sexy passing games. And sometimes just about beating your guy, and then just establish that physicality. And I think teams are starting to get back to it with the run game and running against those like light boxes and those light fronts and scatterboo. I think especially against teams like the Eagles, where you kind of have to play mano a mano against them and show that toughness against them. I think that's definitely a big plus for you guys. And I'm curious to see how that's going to go throughout the season in terms of balancing the injuries or potential injuries versus, maintaining that physical style of play. So next
week.
Yeah.
I was just going to add on. Plus we have an upgraded run game, like I was saying earlier with Greg Roman. So that's going to help him out. We got an upgraded offensive line with CC Malinois. We got him at the number 10 pick. He was considered the best offensive lineman in the draft last year. So all these things are just going to add to the run game and to help Cam out, which is all in better position than last year.
Absolutely. So transitioning to more of a light question, give me your top 3 Giants running backs for fantasy football that you've had as a fan.
Oh man. So in my fantasy days, I would definitely say Saquon, Tiki, and Bradshaw.
Okay.
They got to be the top 3. Cam's pushing it though.
Cam's pushing it.
He has the potential. And that's the thing. Tyrone Tracy, they both can do everything. They're not elite athletes. They're not, the biggest or the fastest or the strongest. But in terms of overall technique and skill, Cam with his attitude and his overall contribution in the running and passing game, he could get up there.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I got Cam in another league, and so I'm probably gonna keep him and somebody else. It's just a matter of I just hope he stays healthy and can just play out the full 16, 17 games. I was gonna ask you, what about Brandon Jacobs from back in the day?
So I never had him fantasy wise, but he was that dog because
he's like,
he would get like a touchdown a game. It was almost like it was so consistent because
goal line so carries.
Big.
Yeah. He was like a defensive lineman playing running back.
Right. PPR, yeah, he would be up there. But
yeah.
Bradshaw probably. I'd have to put Bradshaw above him.
Yeah, No, I got a lot of love for Bradshaw too, man. Yeah, he should have been. Wish he had stayed at UVA.
Right.
After our first semester ever, I guess right before first semester. And lastly, this is just more of a broad question. Where do you see the Giants finishing the NFC East? They're hovering around 7.5 wins on the over/under for the season, and they're predicted to finish last according to Vegas. Is this another rebuilding year in New York, or does John Harbaugh get y'all turned around quickly?
John Harbaugh, I think he's proven, man. I think he knows he's got the formula to bring us back to relevance. I mean, like I said, he's been in the playoffs 12 out of the 18 seasons that he's been a coach. He's had winning seasons, even more than that. And he's a disciplinarian. The last couple of years, the reason why we've been so bad is because our coaching and our upper management has been so loosey goosey with everything. The players are running the asylum, but Harbaugh's going to rein all that back in, and he's going to help us close games. We're not going to blow leads. Above 500.
Above
That's
500.
That's 7.5.
Yeah,
We're going over.
Going over. Okay.
We're going over.
All right. I mean, so you're not sure, you're not guaranteeing playoffs, but you're definitely hitting the over.
Yes. I mean, Dayball was such a bad coach. We barely practiced special teams. We went into games where we didn't have a kicker.
Oh, really?
Like there was so much negligence. Like this dude, he was too emotional. He would only focus on offense. John Harbaugh, it's night and day. It's night and day.
Back here on the Commissioner's Corner of the DMV Fantasy Football Podcast, here with Wes Campbell, talking about fantasy football experience and also the New York Knicks as he is celebrating the 2026 NBA Championship in New York City. So first off, Wes, let's talk about fantasy football. So tell me how many leagues you're in and then what types of leagues in terms of the format, the roster, and so on.
So I'm in 5 leagues right now.
Dude! Nah.
5 leagues, yeah.
I'm probably in 5 too.
Nah, I know it's a lot, but I like how they're all a little bit different. I'm in 1-2 quarterback league.
Okay.
I'm in our league. It's my only 16 team league.
Okay.
So that gives an appreciation for the depth and going deep in the waiver wire and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm in another dynasty league. So that gives you an appreciation for scouting rookies and valuing different talents and trades and things like that. And then I'm in 2 more standard PPR leagues, but it's fun. It's fun, man.
It is, man. Yeah, I think so. We got our league, which is pretty much, the bread and butter, half PPR. I'm in an auction league, which I think is 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, your flex. Pretty standard, but you have an extra receiver, and it's an auction league. So it makes me think about, I can't really look at ADP too much. I got to think more, budget-wise and figuring out where the true value is. So that can throw me off a little bit, but I'm starting to get that league figured out. And then I'm in 2 dynasty leagues I just joined on Sleeper, the college league I was telling you about, and then another one just to get experience playing in dynasty league in dynasty, because I've never played dynasty before, so I had to get into that. And then I may jump in one more, but yeah, I think I'm in like 5 leagues as well. So, but they're all more or less PPR. I think there's one league I'm in, Superflex, which is that second level league that we're in.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's pretty standard.
Once you get past the drafts, it's decent to manage. But 5 drafts, you get kind of tired.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've been on Discord just posting some of my stuff on the Commanders Discord, and I'm going through their fantasy channel, and there's guys that are even between that and then the NCAA Discord, there's guys that are in like tens of leagues. I don't know how they do it. This commissioner's like constantly recruiting people to join fantasy leagues, and I just don't know how they have time, but to each their own. So yeah, the next question is, what do you expect out of a good fantasy football league? What's your expectations on that?
So I expect good comp. I want people who are equally dedicated. I don't like when people quit halfway through the season. Obviously, you want to be ethical. Don't have people colluding on trades and things like that. And I like a little conversation. Whether it's some trash talk or some trade talk or just a little banter back and forth, and activity.
Yeah, so I'm the same way, and I think part of the reason I'm doing the podcast is to help engage our league even more. Even just having the live streams in future episodes will be really good, just to get some of the managers on there. They can, talk their talk and talk trash, and and then also give a little bit of unbiased opinion who they really think is going to win the league. So
Yeah.
I looked at the league, so I had a guy come on and he talked about his league history app, and I think last I checked, through the 14 years since we started the pro relegation system of the Wahoo Legacy League, I think I'm number one. I'm 93 and 79 at the very top. I got the most wins in the league, and I don't have the most championships. JV got me last year by 0.6, but I had to slide that in there, but I know y'all will get me back throughout the course of the season.
It's all right, man. I'm coming through this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then, what's your worst or most annoying experience through your times playing fantasy football? And you can admit my league too. Like, just be completely honest.
The worst is probably when if someone gives up early or they don't set their team for like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
but then they come back and set it for me. I'm like, come on now. You gave all those other people a free win.
Yeah. Especially when it's lose. Like when you're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah. I'm like, just keep tanking like you've been tanking. Like, go to sleep over there.
I need that free win.
Or if you lose to like a Monday night game from like a kicker or something like that, those suck too. You're like, I'm up 9. I should be all right. And then he kicks 4 field goals and you lose or something like that. Those are tough too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And then the best moment of your time playing fantasy football outside of winning a championship.
So my best moments are when you get that sleeper or that fire waiver pickup like a week or two before he really pops. You're like, I was watching the game and I just see this guy carving out a role for himself. It's like, let me just stash that dude. Next thing you know, a couple of weeks later, he's a lock for your starting lineup, and he's got the whole league trembling because now you got 3 number 1 receivers, or you just got a starting running back who nobody saw coming. I love those pickups.
I feel like Scatterboo was that guy last year.
Come on now.
I slept on him. I didn't really think he was going to be a great NFL player, and he bought and then I think he didn't really play much week 1 for the Giants, right?
No, he didn't. Because they had Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy kind of like manning the running back position, but Scatterboo kept proving, and all of a sudden he got in that starting role and took over.
Yeah, man. Like, he straight took that position. I mean, I never really be all that excited about not Tyrone Tracy, but Devin Singletary. But Tyrone Tracy's a good back. And and the fact that Cam took it from him and basically became the heartbeat of that offense, that's huge.
But
I think he changed y'all season.
Hurt. Tracy got hurt for a little bit.
Okay.
So that allowed Cam to come in. But once you saw the production, you couldn't send it back down.
Nah. I mean, y'all were playing pretty well in stretches against it. Like, I know y'all gave the Chiefs a really tough game, and I think it was week 3.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and then especially the Eagles game, I thought y'all really took it to them. That was like one of the more satisfying games to watch as an anti-Eagles hater. I respect them, but I don't love them. So
definitely the highlight of our season.
Yeah. So yeah. And speaking of highlights, I gotta give you your flowers on the New York Knicks winning the NBA championship. So that was a great playoff run. And then for the DMV audience, who's mostly Wizards fans, I gotta give a special shout out to Silver Spring, Maryland native Josh Hart, the do-it-all guard. That he's just such a hustler all over the court, and he's so money throughout that whole playoff run. He seems like a real one for y'all. So you guys are the kings of NBA. Congratulations. And so what is it finally like? What is it like to finally get over the top after all those years of heartbreak, whether it's through the Jordan years or through the first championship against Duncan and Robinson, the Marbury Francis Melo years, and those close calls with Thibs, with Coach Thibs. I mean, it was a bold move to fire him actually last season, but clearly Leon Rose and I guess James Dolan, they knew what they were doing. So walk me through that whole journey as a Knicks fan.
Well, now I'm just talking from orange and blue skies. You know what I'm saying? This year made it all worth it. So it's kind of like when your cheese broke through for the first time.
Yeah. Yep.
Times maybe 20. Because New York is seen as the mecca of basketball, but
right.
we weren't really, showing it
on
the NBA level, and
right.
all the trolling and all that. It comes to a head last year. Like you said, moving on from Tibbs was a bold but necessary move because Tibbs helped us establish a foundation. The discipline, the attention to detail, the toughness, that was all great foundation. But Mike Brown, he brought in the tactics and the adjustments and the play calling to put us over the top. Tibbs, his approach was just avoid mistakes, and the game will show you what to do. Mike Brown's actually coaching to create opportunities and to highlight strengths, and not just put your head down and fumble forward and hope the other team messes up more than you do.
Yeah, and it makes me go into the next question about Mike Brown, and I think you basically answered it as far as the tactics being something that had him stand out between him and Coach Tibbs. And I mean, I just want to say shame on the Sacramento Kings owner for firing him. I never understood it. Like, he actually took the Kings to the playoffs, 2-3 seasons ago? Like, got De'Aaron Fox playing good basketball, and this dude ends up firing him. Like, clearly, if you look at the Sacramento Kings owner, he does not look like a guy that plays basketball or knows ball. And for him to fire Mike Brown and to see the Knicks win a championship while Sacramento continues to dwell in irrelevance is just justice. I'm sorry, Kings fans, but it's just justice. Y'all got to keep suffering for firing Mike Brown. But yeah, tell me about like any other insights on Mike Brown that made you feel that he was the right guy for the job, because I think you guys were looking at other guys too at the time Coach Tibbs got fired. So talk about that.
So, like you said, the Kings, after Donald Sterling got removed, and
Sterling was with the Clippers, by the way.
Right, but I'm saying after, because they were terrible.
Okay.
The Clippers were terrible under Donald Sterling.
Right,
so
right,
after
right,
he got removed and they became an actual good franchise, the Kings said, "Oh, the title of worst franchise in the league is open. We can take that." And they have been terrible for years.
Other than those Jason Williams years with Chris Webber.
Well, yeah, that was that. Yeah, how long?
Since that point,
it's like 20 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
02, 03. So, but the fact that Mike Brown could take them to the playoffs was such a bad organization. It actually got me a little excited. Like, hey, now that we actually do have continuity through our upper management, now that we do have players with discipline, players with aspirations, he can kind of just fit in and be that middleman to optimize everything that we already have going, because he was able to turn those lemons into lemonade. What can he do over here with this great organization that we were building under Leon Rose? So yeah, we were looking at other options before Mike Brown, maybe people with some more proven championship experience, but it worked out the way it was supposed to, and obviously I'm happy with the result.
Yeah, and I think he just kind of unlocked Cat too, just from a assertiveness standpoint. I don't know if that's the right word, but I just felt like Cat really, you could just tell the joy that he was playing, for New York, and just the energy that he brought, and even just the adjustments in the playoffs with him bringing up the ball. So tell me more about about Cat's role and how Mike Brown was able to unlock him during the season.
Yeah, that actually wasn't as smooth as it looked. That was something they were working on all year long.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't until maybe the All-Star break where Cat would come and he said he felt comfortable in his role. He was a little confused. He didn't feel like he knew where he fit in. He didn't know how to really optimally contribute. But more props to Mike Brown for for being open to changing and adapting. Someone like Tibbs would have just put his head down and do this, do that, or bench him. And Mike Brown, no, he was open to input and adaptable to get all 5 players to be at their best at the same time.
Understood. And then you can't forget about the guy Jalen Brunson. And so, among New York Knicks and New Yorkers, how far ahead is Jalen Brunson of Melo in the pantheon of Knicks greats? Is that even a question?
I mean, no shot to Melo. Melo was awesome, but JB, he's at the top right now. It's between him, Willis Reed, and Clyde. And with JB's playoff performances, his numbers are historic. He's been more clutch in the fourth quarter than Michael Jordan, statistically.
That's a good one.
Is our winning percentage? Yeah, our winning percentage with him at the helm has been the highest since the 70s. So he's definitely turned around this team, and he has become that guy that every team has to game plan against, and he's still delivering. So finals MVP, the clutch scoring, the ESPYs awards, he's the king in New York, and rightfully so.
Do you think he can get an NBA MVP regular season at some point during his career with all those guys like Jokic, Wemby, SGA? You think that's something he needs, or for his career legacy, or is it completely irrelevant with his playoff runs?
I don't know if he'll ever get that based on the way our team is currently constructed. We have 3 20-point scorers. We have 4 or 5 who have that potential. So I don't know if he'll ever get that nod, but I'm not worried about that. We're going for, he's obviously a team guy taking a pay cut, or not a pay cut, but an early extension that's not maximized in order to be able to fit under other players under the salary cap. So that he's worried about the team success, and he's playing that way, and it's working out.
Yeah, so you talk about this extension, and this takes me back to Carmelo Anthony and just some of the comments he made about Brunson. And it just seems like he's just pretty salty and jealous that Brunson's getting all this attention, and I feel like, Carmelo, he's the type to come to a wedding in a jumpsuit. So, like, I just feel like Carmelo really has nothing to really stand against Brunson. And so why is he alienating? Do you think he's alienating the Knicks fan base with these comments about Jalen Brunson?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He was saying he wouldn't have taken the early extension that Brunson took. I think because when Melo came here, our front office was not to be trusted. It was terrible.
Okay.
It made so many bad decisions. It started out by signing Amari Stoudemire to an uninsured contract when no other team in the league would. We got a half a season out of him, and then he was injured the rest of the 5 years on a max contract, which limited how strong the rest of the team could be under Melo's whole tenure here. Then when we have Chauncey Billups, who's a proven winner, help us get to the playoffs, they amnesty him and don't bring in a proven point guard to help Melo. He's not LeBron. He's not, the floor general. He's a weapon. He needs a point guard to help direct. So Melo couldn't trust the team building. So why would he take a discount for guys who were just gonna mess up and trade our number 1 overall picks for Andre Bargnani?
And that's a bad one.
when we finally could trade for a point guard, we had to trade in place for Kyle Lowry, and they deny it because they wanted to hold on to Iman Shumpert while he's injured. And so Melo's just like, man, y'all don't know what you're doing, so I might as well get paid.
Yeah.
So no, when you hear the context in a clip,
Okay.
you think that without all that context, you think that Melo's hating on Brunson, but he's been on podcasts with Brunson. He's shown him flowers. He and Brunson have talked about off-court conversations where they've talked about how to move in New York, how to look at things on the floor. They actually have a good relationship. So Brunson knows it's not hate. It's just that their situations are totally different.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I think I more or less just read the headlines and was thinking that basically Carmelo is instructing Brunson to maximize his value so that that doesn't undercut, similar guards that are trying to get that extension or get that max deal. So yeah, that makes a lot more sense now that I've gotten some additional insight on that.
Yeah, no, they have a good relationship. Yeah.
Gotcha. So looking at the Knicks now in this upcoming season, the East is revamped quite a bit with the LeBron super team in Philly, Giannis to Miami. You got the Celtics retooling, Indiana getting Tyrese Halliburton back. And then even the Wizards, not that the Wizards are going to be an Eastern Conference final contender, but, they've gotten A.J. Devonson, Trae Young, and Anthony Davis. And so they should be a little more competitive. And then you add in Detroit, Orlando, Toronto, Atlanta, and Cleveland. And I just see the East as being a complete bloodbath. So tell me about the Knicks' chances this year coming out the East. Is the top seed important, or you're just more or less just trying to get through the top six and let your pedigree do what it do, essentially?
So yeah, the seeding's not as important because, like we just saw, we've shown that we can win at home, we can win on the road. It's more about how we're playing once we get to the postseason. That's what I'm most worried about. But you're right, the East has definitely improved. I don't know if the Toronto trade is going to go through for Kawhi, but if they get him, they're going to be a dog. And Philly obviously is, loaded. Detroit is young and improving. Plus they getting Isaiah Joe. He adds the shooting they needed plus some defense. So
exactly.
The only team that got worse really from the East was probably Charlotte.
Yeah,
but
LaMelo leaving.
Yeah, every other team probably got better.
Absolutely.
Even the Bucks, they got depth now. I could probably say the Celtics might have gotten a little bit better, but their chemistry. The Celtics probably got a little bit worse talent-wise, but their chemistry may have improved considering the comments between Brown and Tatum after they split.
Right.
But yeah, the Hornets and the Nets are probably the only teams that you kind of take for granted. Every other team in the East is going to have something to say. The Wizards might have improved the most, getting 2 All-Stars, injury prone, but 2 All-Stars plus the number 1 overall pick. They're definitely not a pushover this year. So the East is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'd say I probably would label myself as a Wizards follower or fan, having gone to a bunch of games in DC over the years. And I will say it's definitely nice being able to add some veterans that probably wouldn't have come to Washington if they were free agents via trade. And so adding those two with the Bonsa and continued development from guys like Alex Sarr and Koulibaly, Bub Carrington, there's probably Trey Johnson. I mean, they've got a pretty good young nucleus. I just worry about the injuries with AD and then also defense. I think that is a big concern of mine because I've gone to Wizards games over the years, and I feel like the defense has just never been up to par with their coaching staff. And until they fix the defense,
get better with Trey.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Sarr is a good rim protector, but even he gets bodied by some of the better bigs in the league. And so I think having AD will help
as well.
The Wizards got Aiden?
Yeah.
Really?
See, I'm telling you, they're loaded, man. They're loaded.
That's not bad. Okay.
Yeah. I think he's insurance for in case AD gets banged up or Sarr needs a blow. He's usually a little more durable. So between the three of them, the paint is going to be packed.
Yeah. So I'll try to at least go to a couple games this year. Mm-hmm. I feel like tickets are going to go up, with just the improvements the Wizards made and what's going on in the East overall. But yeah, it's going to be an entertaining season in the Eastern Conference. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Definitely.
So going into the last question, is there anything you want to personally share as far as plugging your socials, anything related to your profession, charities, special shout outs, and etc.? Anything you want to share before ending the episode here today?
Nothing too crazy. Just bought a chiropractic clinic called Prime Spine Chiropractic here in Conyers, Georgia. So that's my passion right now. You appreciate it, man. That's my passion right now. So if you're in the area, come on through. We're just trying to push healthcare forward, a little more than just pain relief, and just try to help people live overall better lives in general. But yeah, that's my main thing right now.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Especially now that, we're getting a little, I'll just speak for myself, getting a little up there. If I have any orthopedic or any sort of issues with injuries and all that, yeah, definitely will swing by for advice. And yeah, that's awesome, man. I definitely got to come back down to the A one of these days, maybe catch either it's a Falcons game or what's it called, a Hawks game. But yeah, I got one more question. Is Kyle Pitts? Can I trust Kyle Pitts in fantasy football? Because I still have that bugging desire to not keep him on my draft board this season.
I don't. I'm not the one. He's not going to get me. He's gotten me before.
Yeah.
Not only is it Kyle Pitts, but it's the fact that they got the two most injury-prone quarterbacks lining up to throw him the ball. So you don't even know who's throwing it to him. And plus, Bijan got paid. Drake London, I don't know. Kyle Pitts isn't going to be high on my draft board. That's for sure.
Understood. All right. So we're going to go ahead and close out the show here. I want to thank Wes Campbell for joining the Commissioner's Corner of the DMV Fantasy Football Podcast. It was a pleasure having you on tonight. And yeah, we'll definitely connect on the live stream coming up right before the end of the season. You have a good one.
Good to catch up, Don. Take care.
Yo, check it.
Thank you all for joining today's show of the Commissioner's Corner of the DMV Fantasy Football Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe at YouTube and on Substack at DMV Commish. Thanks again for joining the show, and see you all next time.